Alright, here's a video showing a solo master flawless run at the Last Chance, which is the rotational weekly Witch Queen mission for this week. And I'll be showcasing Gyrfalcon's Hauberk. More on that coming up in a few seconds. So, if you didn't know, as long as you own Witch Queen and beat the game, rank up with Fitch in the Throne World, you will unlock these weekly missions. Why do them? Well, they're a challenging twist on the standard and legendary campaign missions because there's actually champions added. As well as weekly modifiers that tend to sync up with the same nightfall modifiers. So whatever nightfall modifiers are active this week or whatever week, they'll also be active for the weekly Witch Queen missions. So like for this week we got Chaff, which means no radar. Last week was attrition, before that was togetherness, etc. So it's kind of fun. But more importantly, these missions offer one piece of guaranteed pinnacle gear per character every week, which I don't need anymore. I'm already maxed out, but a lot of people are still grinding these, and it's good to know for the beginnings of every season. That's what you can be doing in the first few weeks to get pinnacle gear. It's always a +2 pinnacle. As well, you get a chance at high stat armor and the Senate alloy. And as we know with crafting, alloys now are just as valuable as the Senate shards. Especially if you want to put those enhanced perks on your crafted weapons and get that shiny gold border. So for this mission, I wanted to use Nightstalker. I would suggest, because I'm going to be talking at length about the build and Gyrfalcon's Hauberk, as well as mods, etc., weapons. You can go back to the intro and pause on my build, and you can see what I'm talking about. So like I said, for this mission I want to go with Nightstalker, not because Void is the best choice for this mission. I would say Solar or Arc would generally be better because those are the types of shielded enemies. There's Arc shielded Knights and there's Solar shielded Wizards. There's no Void shields at all. But Hunter finally got their hands back on the new Season 18 exotic, like I said, Falcon's Hauberk. So I wanted to play around and showcase that, and I'll go more in depth on that coming up soon. So I'm using the Aspect Stylish Executioner instead of Quickfall because it allows for more frequent loops of invisibility, which is important to this build with Gyrfalcons. Suppressor grenades is the type of grenade I'm using. They'll outright disable Lightbearer's supers, which is pretty cool. Because as you know, with when a Lightbearer pops their super, they throw their shield. They'll often one-shot you. On Grandmaster, it's one-shot. Master difficulty, they'll get you critical. Sometimes if you're not high enough power level, you get one-shot, obviously. So anytime I kill a suppressed enemy, including grenade kills, I'll go invisible from Stylish Executioner. Anytime I weaken an enemy with a smoke bomb and kill them, I'll go invisible. Because of the Fragment Echo of Obscurity, my finishers will make me invisible. And then because of the Aspect Vanishing Step, my dodge will also make me invisible. And then finally, because of Echo of Persistence, I get an extra few seconds of invisibility, which is nice. Even though Gyrfalcons takes advantage of coming out of invisibility, it is good to have the timer extended on invis, because there is going to be a lot of situations where you need to go invis and recover your health, recover your abilities, reload your weapons, etc. It adds an element of survivability. So what else? So quickly with the weapons, you'll notice I'm using double linear fusion rifles, which is always a good way to be efficient with ammo finders and scavenger mods. Arbalist is going to be taking care of all the non-matching shields in the game, as well as barrier hives. So like I said, Void's not the best choice, but Arbalist takes care of everything, so why not? I do get kind of tired of using Arbalist all the time, but because I was stuck on using Nightstalker and Gyrfalcons, I had to come up with some efficient way to take care of shields, because towards the end of this mission especially, you're going to get mobbed by tons of enemies, and you need a quick way. Like adaptive munitions, I tried going with adaptive munitions on pointed inquiry and come to pass. And yeah, it'll take care of the shields, but it's still pretty slow. It's like you need to one-shot those shields and be done with them. Otherwise, they're just going to regen their shield if you don't outright kill them. And then you got to take away at their shield again. So, you know, adaptive munitions is a great perk. I highly recommend it for certain situations, but doing this mission solo with it, with only Void, wasn't working out. So yeah, Arbalist. The pulse rifle I'm using is Yesteryear, which is the new Season 18 Gambit weapon for this season. That's going to be my primary ad clear weapon, and I'll be studying Unstoppables with it. So this is actually the only Yesteryear I have, because I don't play very much Gambit. But this archetype specifically just saw a recent buff in one of the last updates. So, and I actually really like this role. Excuse me. Compulsive Reloader synergizes nicely with Suro Synergy. And anytime I get a critical crit shot kill, and then reload my weapon, I get Desperado, which increases the fire rate, ups the DPS big time. So all three of these weapon perks synergize together, and yeah, the perks alone aren't great by themselves, but all three together make for a pretty good time. Like the weapon feels really good. If you didn't know, Compulsive Reloader, usually a useless perk, but I think if you reload with the top half of your mag, you get bonus to your weapon stats. And then Suro Synergy, which is the origin trait, essentially does the same thing. Reloading with the top half of your mag gives it all kinds of benefits like stability, handling, reload speed, etc. Even range, I think. And then because Desperado requires you to reload to proc it, you know, it all works perfectly together. Alright, so I'm also using Taipan again this week. I used it last week for the Cunning. But because of Gyrfalcons, I wanted to try something different. So if you saw my last video, you would have seen I had Triple Tap and Frenzy, both enhanced on it, and I spoke highly of Frenzy. However, my eyes got open to another damage perk on Taipan, Box Breathing. Now, Box Breathing gives you a 30 to 35% damage boost, and you only have, in order to proc it, you only have to be ADS'd with the weapon for only 1 to 1.5 seconds. Now that's the biggest burst damage buff you can get on Taipan. And I don't have Box Breathing on any other weapon, so I want to try it out. Not only that, but I noticed Frenzy, I noticed that I enjoy Frenzy a lot more on my aggressive frame Storm Chaser. It's more of an up-close and personal linear fusion rifle, and Frenzy just seems to proc more often and makes Storm Chaser feel amazing. But Taipan was not giving me the same feels at all. For one, it's a precision frame, so you need to line up your crits and not miss. And Triple Tap is going to reward you heavily for precision shots. You know, just giving you free ammo out of thin air. So, and Box Breathing plays into that style of weapon perfectly, in my opinion. At least for me, doing solo content, as I have been, you know, take your 1 second is nothing. Just take a second to line up your crit, and you get a huge damage buff. So, you know, it does chunk damage. Would I recommend this for doing raids, DPS on bosses? No. But either way, this is what I decided to go with. So I sunk another alloy and another 2,000 resonant elements into it. but I got an alloy back for completing the mission with platinum. You know, and my inventory is overflowing with those things anyways, so why not? And you'll see it if you watch through. I'll be one-phasing a few barriers, 3 shots, and they're dead before they even have a chance to put their shields up. So, pretty good. So that brings me to the next point, which is, excuse me, we got a cold going through the house, so my voice isn't the best, but Gyrfalcon's Hauberk. So how does it work? Basically, when you emerge from invisibility, you get a few seconds of increased damage, and it's like 35%, which, you know, that's like Lucent Blade, but for weapons, any weapon. Not only that, but it stacks with Box Breathing on Taipan, and with Font of Might, I believe. So, not only that, but when you get a finisher while invisible, you get a reserve overshield, which is cool because what that means is that whenever you decide to dodge, that reserve overshield will deploy, which makes sticky situations more survivable than normal. And if you watch through to the end in the final 3 rooms, there's champions, light bearers, the boss, plenty of ads, cursed thrall, and so finishers basically saved me over and over again with the overshields protecting me. And because I just started experimenting with this build, I wasn't even trying to proc the overshield. I just kind of noticed here and there I had an overshield. But yeah, so it's a learning experience, and going forward from here, I'll be able to play this build a bit better with knowing when the overshields are going to be proccing.
You've done well honing the gift granted.
So now another thing I've done with this build to play into it, as I mentioned, I'm using Echo of Persistence for one of the fragments. So not only does that increase the duration of invisibility, but it also increases the duration of overshields. So and it also increases the duration of Devour. And yes, I will be proccing Devour via the fragment Echo of Starvation. So when I pick up Orbs of Power, I get Devour. And I'm making orbs from Harmonic Siphon on my headpiece, so whenever I get rapid kills with void weapons, in this case, because void weapons match my my subclass, I get orbs. So what does Devour do? In case you didn't know, restores your health when you get kills, and it resets the Devour timer. It's that simple. So it's just another means of survivability, basically. And it restores your health 100%. So it's pretty amazing. On top of the invis, on top of the overshields, you got that Devour. And oh yeah, Devour also increases your grenade gen. So that's a nice little bonus there as well. So I had a lot of fun planning this out. I like min-maxing and optimization. So to see Echo of Persistence, for example, fully utilizing all 3 void ability buffs is just super satisfying to me. Nerd alert, I know. Alright, so hopefully that explains how this exotic works and how one might plan on using it. How do you get it? Well, you just have to do Legendary or Master Lost sectors. And if you don't already have it, RNG will basically favor dropping one for you. So I went into the Conflux one day when it was dropping chest pieces on Legend, and I got it within a couple runs, not a couple hours. It was a couple runs, if not my first run. So it's not a big deal. Anyways, as far as the mods I'm using, I actually decided not to go with Charged with Light build, which is what I often do. Instead, I went with an Elemental Well build. But overall, I wasn't super happy with it. Not that I wasn't happy with an Elemental Well, but I just wasn't happy with my well production. I wasn't making enough wells. But either way, I was using Reaping Well Maker. That was my source for wells. So kills after dodging drops a Void Well. me. What does that do for me? Well, I went with Well of Tenacity in combination with Elemental Time Dilation. Because I actually just learned that Elemental Time Dilation increases your well timer. So it increases the resist time from Well of Tenacity 3-fold. So you get 9 seconds of 50% damage resistance instead of 3 seconds, which is really good. And I had previously thought in order to get time dilation working, you had to stack multiple copies of a certain mod to get the increased time benefit. But that's not the case, just one copy with dilation, and you get a 300% timer increase on Well of Tenacity. Honestly, the game could have done a better job explaining that, but it doesn't state that at all. I learned this from someone else's YouTube commentary and gameplay. Go figure. Anyways, also using Font of Might, and I believe Elemental Time Dilation extends that timer as well, not as dramatically as Tenacity, but only by like 150%. So instead of 10 seconds, you get 15 seconds or so. And if you didn't know, Font of Might gives you a 25% void weapon damage buff. Honestly, I don't think it procced very often in this run, which is why I was saying I wasn't happy with my well production. If I had to do it again, I would stack Reaping Wellmaker with Elemental Armaments, or just use Elemental Armaments instead, because you get a well for every few void weapon kills, and I was honestly doing way more of that than dodging and then killing. So generally I prefer Charge with Light with high energy fire, because it's still a great damage buff, 20%. There's no timer and it applies to all your weapons. The only downside is it depletes after you kill, but if you plan it right, you save your high energy fire for big targets and you kill ads with abilities, so it's an easy, it's an easy workaround. Either way, this is what I went with, despite lacking some better well production, like I said. Yes, I could have used Bountiful Wells, which is also a popular mod, to get 2 wells at a time, but I didn't need many wells at once. I needed many wells spread out over time to keep Font of Might and Tenacity timer going more often. So Bountiful Wells is good for ability regen, I suppose, but not for timer extending or buffs at all. So that's why I'm saying it's better to have more ways of getting wells at different times. So either way, can talk about the build, the weapons, the mods, all you want, but at the end of the day, I still have to beat the mission using common game sense and knowledge and skill, obviously. The build is fun to plan out, but at the end of the day, it's important to know that you don't need to stress out over these things. A good build is a nice bonus to any gameplay, but that's it. It's not going to win the game for you. So with that said, I'll let you watch through the gameplay without jabbering through it all, not because I don't have any valuable commentary to add from here on out. I could talk through all the encounters and what I was thinking, but I've learned that these style of videos where I add commentary is actually a lot of work. Sometimes I have to script it out and think of what I want to say. So yeah, it's a lot of work. So hats off to all you solo player content creators out there that take the time to add commentary. As you can see, like, I'm already losing my voice. This is obviously just a hobby for me at this point, but I would definitely like to do more of it. So if you enjoy, I would appreciate it if you let me know in the comments. Ask me whatever you want. I'll do my best to answer and elaborate thoroughly. Likes, subs, notifications, all that good stuff. I'd be super grateful for it. And as you know, I already have multiple videos doing this every week for the weekly Witch Queen missions and the Nightfalls. So feel free to go and check out my channel. There's also some small clips on there. So with all that said, enjoy the gameplay and I'll catch you in the next video.
This is definitely the apothecary wing. Somehow, it feels even creepier in here.
Naturally. You're trespassing on the testing grounds for the Lucent Hive's most wretched experiments. Savathun likely appointed one of her High Council wizards to keep watch over this place. Find them. The crystal is sure to be nearby.
Signs of a crystal so far. Just rows and rows of jars filled with... Is that light? But it's tainted somehow.
Savathun has always encouraged her wizards to push boundaries of Hive magic. It seems that hasn't changed with the light. Proof proof, perhaps, that corruption has far less to do with the power than the one channeling it.
Or the power has permanent side effects. Darkness transforms Savathun into kin from prey to predators.
Not darkness itself, but an entity behind it corrupted the Hive. Conditioned their power on an endless blood tithe. Their fate is not inevitable.
I have no doubt that some can handle darkness with discipline. But those who can't, they're not the only ones to pay the price.
An inverted realm. Explore any and all directions. especially those you least suspect.
Looks like we're interrupting something. But where's the wizard overseeing all this? I think we just found the one in charge around here.
Good. Now go in, and we're about to get crystal out of them.
The wizard just fled.
Follow them. They're closing ranks around the crystal.
There's the Crystal Guardian. Time to finish this.
Devotion inspires bravery. Bravery inspires sacrifice. And sacrifice.
That was Savathun, all right. But what does that mean?
This is the evidence we've been seeking all along. Ikora's instincts were correct after all.